You hesitate, waiting for the right moment, the perfect plan, the clear path. But strength doesn't wait. You become unstoppable the moment you decide to be. Why? Because action creates belief. How? By walking, speaking, and thinking as if no force can hold you back, until even your doubts surrender. In a few moments, I will teach you how to train your mind and body to move with unstoppable confidence and intent. You become what you believe you are. You don't rise above your self-image. You may dream of greatness, but if deep inside you see yourself as limited, small, or incapable, then that's exactly where you'll remain. You can gather knowledge, shake hands with opportunity, and even stand at the doorstep of success, but if you don't act as if nothing can stop you, you won't enter. Most people don't fail from lack of potential. They fail from lack of permission they never gave themselves. You wait. You hope someone sees you. You want approval. But power doesn't come from waiting. Power begins when you decide, I will walk like I belong. I will move as if the outcome is already mine. You must begin to act like the version of yourself you claim to be. Start walking with the certainty of someone who's already paid the price. Speak with the conviction of a man who's tasted the result in his mind before he's touched it in reality. Now imagine this. You walk into a room, not with arrogance, but with calm certainty. You look around and feel no need to prove anything. You've already chosen your direction. People sense it. They follow it. Ask yourself, how long will you let doubt dress you each morning? Why wear fear like a second skin? What if, for 1 month, you acted as if you were meant to win? Who would you become if you simply refuse to consider failure? Nothing changes until you do. Your world is not waiting to change. It's waiting on you to become someone it must respond to. You think circumstances shape you, but they don't. They reveal you. You can keep waiting for the right time, but understand this. Time never arrives dressed in comfort. It shows up as pressure. You keep saying, once I have more confidence, I'll take action, but that's not how it works. Action builds confidence. Repetition builds mastery, and mastery builds belief. Every day you delay, you reinforce the idea that you are powerless, and you're not. You become unstoppable the moment you decide, I don't care if I'm ready, I'll move anyway. Change doesn't ask for your permission. It demands your transformation. You must learn to become the kind of person your future requires. Now picture this. You rise early, not because you have to, but because your mission whispers to you. You write your goals by candlelight. You practice when no one is watching. You face the challenge, even while shaking, because you've decided your fear doesn't get a vote. How long will you negotiate with hesitation? How much of your life will you trade for comfort? What if, instead of preparing forever, you just began? What if you acted not like a beginner, but like a man becoming exactly who he said he would? The world respects the man who moves without noise. There is something terrifying about a man who walks with silent certainty. He doesn't boast, he doesn't beg, he simply moves. While others announce plans, he builds. While others need applause, he sharpens in private. And when the results arrive, no one saw him coming. The world will try to distract you with noise. It will bait you with attention. But the truly unstoppable man isn't here for attention. He's here for ascension. He trains when it's boring. He endures when it's thankless. He remains loyal to the vision even when no one believes in it. You must become this man. Learn to act without explaining, to decide without defending. Your power is not in how loud you speak, but in how consistently you move. Now imagine this. You work alone, you plan alone. No one asks what you're doing because you're not broadcasting it. But one day they look up and you're miles ahead. You didn't ask for recognition, you earned momentum. And now they cannot ignore you. Ask yourself, do you need to be seen improving, or are you content becoming? Can you stand in silence while others talk, knowing your time will come? What would happen if you trained with the intensity of a man preparing for something only he believes in? Decide what you want, then burn the boat. Most people fail, not because their goal was too big, but because they left the door open to escape. They kept a way out, a plan B, an excuse. But if you truly want to act as if nothing can stop you, then you must remove every option except forward. Once a man truly decides, he becomes dangerous. He stops waiting for things to line up. He starts aligning himself. He stops asking for signs. He begins building his own. When you decide what you want and remove retreat from your vocabulary, you activate a different power. No more wandering, no more maybe, only forward. Imagine this. You write your goal on paper, seal it in an envelope, and tell no one. But from that moment, every step, every hour, every setback is simply part of the contract. You cannot run now. You've burned the boat. There's no going back. What would change if you never again entertained doubt? If you lived each day with the urgency of someone who knows there is no second chance? Could it be that your success has been waiting on your decision all along? Master your inner voice, or be a slave to it. The most dangerous opponent you'll ever face isn't out there. It's inside your own mind. It doesn't come at you with weapons. It comes with whispers. You're not ready. They're better than you. What if you fail? That voice doesn't shout. It doubts. And the tragedy? Most people believe it. They mistake fear for caution. They call hesitation wisdom. They retreat, thinking they're being smart, when in truth, they're being ruled, not by reality, but by a ghost in their head. Your thoughts are not facts. They're echoes of what you were told growing up, of past mistakes, of people who quit and convinced you to do the same. Most of what you think is just noise you've absorbed, never questioned, and now mistake for your own voice. But here's the truth. If you don't take control of that inner voice, it will take control of you. You either train it or it trains you. You must become the commander of your mind. Like a soldier drills his body, you must drill your thinking. Fearful thoughts will come, they always do. But you don't entertain them, you intercept them. You replace, reframe, and reprogram. You stop saying, I can't. You start saying, I will. You stop asking, what if I fail, and start declaring, what if I win? That shift from fear to force is how a weak mind becomes a powerful one. It starts with your words, and your words begin in your thoughts. Picture this. That same voice rises again. Doubt, worry, insecurity. But this time, you don't follow it. You pause, you breathe, and you say, not today. You return to your goal. You keep moving. You take one more step in silence. You don't beg your mind to feel ready. You train it to obey. That's how mental discipline works. Not with inspiration, but with instruction. You lead your mind like a general leads an army, focused. So ask yourself, who's in control when your mind speaks? Is it you or the noise that lives unchecked? If you could hear those thoughts out loud, spoken by someone else, would you allow it? Would you let a person stand in front of you and say, you're worthless, you'll never make it, you're too late? No? Then why tolerate it in silence? Why make your own mind your enemy? You have two choices. Lead your thoughts or follow them into mediocrity. There is no third option. Rule your mind or be ruled by it. It's that simple. Build discipline like it's your only wealth. You were not born disciplined. No one is. Discipline isn't a gift. It's a construction site. It's built brick by brick, decision by decision. It grows when you say yes to difficulty while no one's watching, when you choose effort over ease, not once, but again and again. Every day your mind offers comfort. Every day you must decline it. Until you build that inner wealth, you'll keep borrowing motivation from others, reassurance from voices outside of you, and anything borrowed can be taken away. Discipline is the one currency no one can steal. It's quiet, invisible, but unshakable. A man with it can walk through fire and not flinch. A man without it collapses under a drizzle of inconvenience. It is the difference between wishing and becoming. It is the bridge between the life you imagine and the one you actually create. Without it, dreams remain mirages, forever just out of reach. Most people treat discipline like punishment. They think it's restriction, when in truth, it's release. Discipline doesn't trap you, it frees you. Because once you learn to obey yourself, no one else can command you. No excuse can sway you. No temptation can own you. You become immune to distractions because you've already made your decision. You don't follow feelings, you follow orders from the higher version of yourself. Picture this. You rise early, not because someone tells you, but because your mission commands it. You don't hit snooze. You don't negotiate. You say, this is who I am. When temptations show up, you don't tremble. You walk past them like they don't exist, because they don't, not to you. You've already trained your mind to move forward. You've already won the battle before it begins. So ask yourself honestly, can you trust your own word? When you say, I'll do it, does it happen? Or are you always starting over, always trying again, always explaining why it didn't work out? What would your life look like if your habits worked even while you rested? What if your discipline ran on autopilot? That's not fantasy, it's built, but only if you stop negotiating with laziness. Only if you stop letting today's comfort rob tomorrow's greatness. Another year of delay is another year of regret. Discipline is not about pushing harder. It's about becoming consistent. It's about keeping promises to yourself, especially when no one else is watching. That's how trust is built. That's how freedom is earned. Not through willpower, but through training. And it starts now. Walk into the room like you own the outcome. The moment you enter a room, people feel you, not because of the clothes you wear or the title you carry, but because of the energy radiating off you. That energy speaks before you do. It reveals whether you're confident or hesitant, whether you belong or doubt your right to be there. People read you in an instant. Your shoulders, your pace, your eyes. If you carry apology in your posture, you'll be dismissed before you open your mouth. But if you walk in grounded and certain, the world takes notice. Hesitation is invisible to you, but obvious to everyone else. The world doesn't bend to the unsure. It responds to the steady, the centered. Not the loudest or boldest, but the one who moves with intention. Confidence isn't noise, it's precision. Those who carry quiet power don't need to convince anyone. They've already convinced themselves. The rest is just alignment. The secret lies in preparation. Inner work is outer influence. When you've rehearsed success in your mind, seen yourself shaking hands, making decisions, standing tall, there's no need for bravado. You don't enter a room to beg for approval. You don't arrive to impress. You arrive to execute. The result is already written in your mind. So you move with the stillness of someone who's read the final page and knows it ends in victory. It starts with posture, upright, not tense, still, not stiff, eye contact that's steady, not aggressive but clear. Your body language says, I know why I'm here. You don't fidget or apologize. You don't shrink to avoid judgment. You expand. You breathe. You let silence serve you. Every move either commands respect or invites dismissal. There is no neutral. You're always telling the room something. Make sure it's what you intend. Now, picture this. You're in a negotiation. You're not the wealthiest in the room. You're not the most experienced. But none of that matters because you're grounded. You've prepared mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You've written about this moment. You've visualized it. You've prayed for it. And now that it's here, you don't hope, you act. You sit calmly. You speak clearly. The room senses it. You're not grasping, you're claiming. And because your certainty is unshakable, others begin to adjust themselves around you. Ask yourself, do you wait for the right time to speak, or do you believe your voice already matters? Do you shrink when pressure builds, or do you step forward with resolve? Every day you're teaching people how to treat you by how you carry yourself. If you walked into every room like your presence had weight, what doors would open? What would you attract? What would change? If you believed without a doubt that you already had the right to be there. Confidence is not a performance, it's a decision. A decision to move as if the world needs what you bring, because it does. And once you own that truth, the room changes. Not because they gave you power, but because you stopped asking. Let your work prove your worth. Too many people waste energy trying to be heard. They raise their voices, exaggerate their titles, and make noise hoping it sounds like power. But real authority doesn't shout, it's felt. The man who cannot be ignored doesn't need to force attention. His presence speaks because his results are undeniable. You don't win respect by demanding it. You earn it by producing outcomes so clear that no one can argue. The loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest, just the most insecure. Value is not something you announce, it's something you prove. Every decision you make, every task you touch, is either building your name or weakening it. Reputation isn't declared, it's demonstrated. When you operate with excellence consistently, people begin to notice. Not because you ask them to, but because excellence leaves a trail. People follow results, not words. And real value doesn't need an introduction. That level of influence isn't accidental. It comes from clarity and self-respect. It means refusing mediocrity, even when it's easy. It means doing it the right way, even when no one would notice if you didn't. When shortcuts appear, you ignore them. When applause is delayed, you keep going. You don't need attention to stay disciplined. You don't need a witness to be excellent. Because you're not building for credit, you're building for legacy. You're not trying to be seen, you're making yourself undeniable. Imagine this, you walk into a room and everyone already knows who you are. Not because you introduced yourself, but because your actions spoke long before you arrived. You don't need to advertise. Your results have become your reputation. That kind of recognition can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It can only be earned, and once you earn it, no one can take it from you. You become a name worth remembering. Now ask yourself, are you still waiting to be chosen, or are you making yourself impossible to overlook? Are your habits aligned with greatness, or do they whisper confusion? If someone recorded your daily decisions and played them back as your story, would you be proud? You don't need to chase recognition. You need to become the kind of person who produces work so solid, so consistent, that recognition finds you. Let your output do the talking. Your life is a billboard. Whether you realize it or not, the world reads your habits. It sees your choices. It hears your discipline or your lack of it. What you do daily is writing the headlines of your reputation. And if your results were displayed in front of the world, what would they say about you? Would they inspire? Would they confirm your words or expose them? Power is quiet. Greatness is proven. Influence is earned. So stop trying to be impressive. Just be excellent. Be so committed to mastery that people remember your results more than your name. That's how you become impossible to ignore. Not by saying it louder, but by living it better. Use every setback as a setup for greatness. Life will not ask for your permission before it delivers pain. It won't give you a warning before it throws punches. It will hit you in the gut, financially, emotionally, spiritually. You'll be betrayed. You'll lose what you thought was secure. You'll feel like the ground disappeared. But here's the truth. Nothing that happens to you has power until you decide what it means. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. Pain is raw material. What you make from it is your choice. The strongest people you'll ever meet are not the ones untouched by misfortune. They're the ones who faced it and rose anyway. They didn't escape pain. They studied it. They didn't deny suffering. They turned it into fire. They stopped asking, why me, and started asking, what now? That's what separates the defeated from the determined. How they respond to the blow, not how hard it hit. When you carry yourself like nothing can stop you, setbacks shrink. They don't disappear, but they lose their ability to paralyze you. You stop treating them like walls and start seeing them as scenery, things you pass, not things that hold you back. Life is full of turns and storms. The secret is in how you bend, not break. You adapt, you learn, you press forward, not once, but again and again. That's how strength is built, not by ease, but by endurance. Now imagine this. You lose your job. Everyone around you expects you to collapse. They wait for the spiral. But instead, you wake up early the next day. You sit in silence. You start planning. You write down a new goal. You reach out to new connections. You walk with a sharper gaze, a firmer step. Why? Because you've decided no event will define you. You will define yourself, regardless of the event. Pain doesn't have to become your identity. It can become your momentum. Some people live in the echo of their wounds, replaying what hurt them until it hardens into helplessness. But you're different. You extract meaning, not misery. You gather lessons, not labels. You stop romanticizing the struggle and start building through it. That shift changes everything, because when you take ownership of the narrative, nothing owns you. Not loss, not rejection, not even failure. So ask yourself, when life knocks, will you crumble or construct? Will you allow one moment to speak for your entire life, or will you speak back through action? Hardship is not a sentence, it's a challenge. And challenges don't care about how you feel, they only respond to how you move. You get to decide whether the setback becomes a tombstone or a cornerstone, whether it becomes an excuse or a weapon. What if your greatest failure was just the tunnel leading to your greatest strength? What if the betrayal, the collapse, the disappointment, that thing you thought would break you, was actually shaping you into someone unshakable? Some of your greatest breakthroughs will come dressed as breakdowns. The pain isn't the end. It's the pressure that shapes the diamond. What matters most is that you don't stop walking. You cannot control the storm, but you can control your stance. You can't choose every battle, but you can choose your spirit. So when life hits you, and it will, remember, it's not the fall that defines you. It's what you do next. Let the world throw what it wants. Let it doubt you, let it delay you, but never let it decide you. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do with it. Speak with authority even to yourself. Before you ever speak to the world, you are already speaking to yourself. That voice inside, your internal dialogue, sets the tone for everything that follows. If that voice is filled with hesitation, fear, or self-doubt, it will infect your posture, your energy, your decisions. People won't see your internal battle, but they'll feel it. The man who commands his life must first master the battlefield of his thought. You cannot lead in the world if you are lost in your own head. Authority begins in silence, long before a word leaves your lips. Words are not just tools, they are weapons, maps, and seeds. What you speak in private is building something in you, brick by brick. Every I can, I will, I must is a brick of steel laid in the walls of your mind. And every I can't, I'm not enough, maybe someday, tears those walls down. Speak carelessly in private and you will stumble in public. The mind listens and it obeys. If you repeat weakness often enough, it becomes policy. If you repeat power often enough, it becomes instinct. That's why self-talk isn't silly, it's strategic. You are conditioning your subconscious to either support you or sabotage you. Most people don't realize how many of their failures were rooted in the things they told themselves when no one else was around. Speak with purpose, even in the quiet. Train yourself to speak life. Speak truth with fire. Speak what you want to become, not just what you see. Say it, even if you don't feel it yet. Say it when you wake up. Say it when doubt creeps in. Say it when you want to quit. You must learn to program your mind with your words. Power is not about waiting for confidence, it's about building it through repetition and conviction. Imagine this. You stand in front of a mirror. You're not posing, you're confronting. You look yourself in the eye, not with arrogance, but with intensity. You say, I am focused. I am relentless. I do not quit. I overcome. I grow. I rise. You don't wait for the world to agree. You command yourself. You speak identity into being. You give your future a voice. And slowly, something changes. Not outside, but within. Don't underestimate these moments. They're not small. They're sacred. Because how you speak to yourself in private is how you'll act in pressure. When the pressure rises, when the test comes, when people doubt you, you won't fold because you've already declared victory before the battle started. You've been rehearsing strength. You've been feeding it daily. And the man who trains in peace performs in war. Now ask yourself, what would change if every thought you spoke to yourself was a seed, and every seed would grow into the tree you must live under? What have you been planting? Encouragement or doubt? Fire or fog? Direction or distraction? Your thoughts become patterns, your patterns become behaviors, and your behaviors become your life. Trace it all back and you'll find it began with a whisper. Your words created your future, and they do. Are you building a kingdom or digging a ditch? Are you empowering the man you want to be or enabling the one you need to leave behind? You don't need to fake perfection. You just need to commit to truth. And the truth is this: your voice matters, even if no one hears it but you. Especially then, the world responds to conviction. And conviction begins with you believing, not the praise, not the applause, but the quiet belief that says, I was made for this. I am being shaped by this. I will overcome this. Say it again and again until your feet believe what your mouth declared, until your spirit catches up to your sentence, until it's no longer words, it's identity. So speak like your future depends on it, because it does. Stop waiting for someone to choose you. You keep hoping someone will tap you on the shoulder and say, now's your time. That someone will notice your effort. That someone will give you the green light. But that day never comes, not for the man who waits. The world does not hand out permission slips. It rewards initiative. It respects those who move first, not those who ask quietly. The ones who win don't wait for approval. They appoint themselves. They stop waiting and start walking. You may have talent. You may even have vision, but none of that matters if you're still standing at the door waiting for someone to open it. Opportunity doesn't knock. It waits on the other side, wondering if you'll turn the handle. The key? It's been in your pocket the whole time. It's your decision to act. Your willingness to begin without applause, without backup, without certainty. No one will believe in you more than you do. That's not a motivational phrase, it's reality. If you walk into the world like you don't belong, it will believe you. If you treat yourself like an outsider, others will too. Respect doesn't start with others treating you better. It starts with you refusing to treat yourself small. Walk like you're appointed, speak like you're prepared, move like no one's coming to save you, because they're not. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. If you want others to respect your time, your work, your vision, you have to respect it first. That means showing up on time when no one's watching. That means committing to the work even when it's quiet. That means standing tall before you feel ready, because readiness is not given. It's built by doing the hard things without waiting for an invitation. Picture this. You walk into a room. No one introduced you. No one asked you to come, but you're there and you're necessary. Your work is so consistent, your presence so rooted that people pay attention. You didn't arrive with noise or demand. You arrived with proof. That's what happens when you stop asking to be picked and decide to pick yourself. You stop performing and start delivering. The room doesn't ignore you, it adapts to you. You must let go of the fantasy that someone else's approval will unlock your potential. If you're waiting for validation, you've already handed your power to someone else, and if they never offer it, then you stay stuck. Not because you lack ability, but because you refused to start without permission. The truth is, the moment you say, "I choose me," everything changes. You stop begging and start building. So ask yourself, how many years have you spent hoping someone would notice? How much energy have you wasted crafting the perfect plan, waiting for the perfect timing, needing the perfect nod from someone who probably isn't even watching? What would happen if you stopped waiting? What would your life look like if you said, "This is mine, I will carry it, I don't need anyone to lighten the load, I'll grow strong enough to bear it myself"? Choosing yourself isn't a one-time event, it's a daily posture. Every day you remind yourself, I don't need a stamp, I don't need a savior, I need to show up. The world respects those who respect their calling enough to act on it. You don't need to scream about your worth, you just need to live it out so loudly that no one can deny it. Yes, there will be doubt. Yes, you'll hear the voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" But answer it. Say, "I am the one who decided to go." Say, "I'm the one who got tired of waiting." Say, "I chose me," and that was enough to begin. You'll be amazed at how the world begins to respond, not when you beg, but when you become undeniable. So don't wait another year. Don't sit at the edge of your dream, asking someone to call your name. Call your own. Stand up. Show up, build quietly, deliver relentlessly, pick yourself, and then prove, with everything you've got, that no one else ever needed to. Train until action is automatic success doesn't belong to the man who gives one great effort. It doesn't yield to the one who burns bright for a season. Success belongs to the man who trains daily until trying is no longer something he does, it's something he is. He doesn't wait for motivation. He doesn't pray for ideal conditions. He prepares because he knows that in the crucial moment, you do not rise to your goals. You fall to your preparation. You fall to your systems, your habits, your foundation. The man who trains daily doesn't need hype. He doesn't need a reason. He has built his motion into his identity. While others wait for permission or energy, he moves. He acts like nothing can stop him, not because nothing ever has, but because he trained to keep going regardless. Motivation is fleeting, systems endure, and the man with systems becomes unstoppable. When you act like nothing can stop you, a shift happens. You stop relying on how you feel. You stop checking your mood before you start your mission. You don't ask if you're inspired, you execute, because you've practiced doing what needs to be done, whether it's exciting or exhausting. Your discipline is no longer an act of force, it's a reflex. That's how warriors are built, quietly, repetitively, with resolve. Systems save you from yourself, from your moods, your excuses, your temporary discomforts. You don't leave your greatness to chance. You engineer it. You wake up at the same time. You train at the same hour. You think clearly because you've built clarity into your routine. Most men drift. You drive. Most react. You respond. That is the advantage of preparation. It turns chaos into clarity. Picture this. It's early, the sky is dark, and your body aches. Most would roll over, but you don't. You rise. Not because it feels good, but because this is what you do. Your feet hit the ground with purpose. Cold air, tired muscles, silent room. It doesn't matter. You're not driven by weather or emotions. You're driven by your standard. And that standard was built in the quiet. Discipline is what makes you dangerous, because once you stop giving your feelings authority, you become a machine of purpose. You are no longer guided by comfort, you are guided by mission. And every action, no matter how small, reinforces who you are becoming. You build forward momentum, and soon the hard things become normal. The impossible becomes your practice ground. You don't hesitate. You execute. Because you've eliminated the option to negotiate with laziness, you don't wait for inspiration to strike. You've made movement your medicine. Each rep, each step, each page, each decision adds another layer to the man you're becoming. And while others stall at the starting line, you're already halfway down the road. Not because you're faster, but because you started. Now ask yourself, what if you stopped asking how you felt and started asking what your mission demands? What if you removed emotion from the equation and asked only, what must be done today to get where I want to be? That single question can change everything because it puts the focus back on control. And the truth is, you have more of it than you admit. What would your life look like if your habits kept working when your motivation went missing? If your routine carried you through the days when your spirit felt dry? That's not fantasy, that's structure. That's what systems do. They protect your progress from your weakness. They hold the line when your emotions try to drop the shield. And over time, they turn you into a man who moves through anything. Success doesn't require superhuman strength. It requires consistency. The men who win are not the most gifted. They are the most prepared, the most reliable, the most unwilling to quit. Every day you train, every day you show up, you put distance between yourself and the man who still waits for motivation. You become someone people admire, not because you said the right thing, but because you did the right thing again and again. Could it be that the man you admire most isn't more talented, just more trained? Maybe he simply repeated what worked until it couldn't be ignored. He lifted before dawn. He worked while others slept. He practiced when no one watched. And while you were wondering how he got there, he was already halfway to the next level. Success doesn't show up. It reveals who stayed longest in the fire. So the question is no longer how hard can you try today, but how often can you train until trying is automatic? How many silent mornings? How many quiet reps? How many unseen battles are you willing to endure? Because in the end, the world doesn't remember what you hoped for. It remembers what you built. And what you build depends on how you train. Make trying your default. Make action your instinct. Let excellence become your baseline, not your peak. And when you do, you won't need permission, applause, or motivation. You'll have something stronger. You'll have identity. The man who trains daily becomes the man who conquers eventually. Not by chance, not by charm, but by sheer, unshakable commitment to move, no matter how he feels. Make every day a declaration. Each morning you make a decision, even if you don't realize it. You choose whether to fight or fold, whether to rise with purpose or drift into distraction. You might not say the words, but your actions speak them. If you roll out of bed with no aim, no plan, and no fire, you've already surrendered. You've handed the day over before it even began. Drifting is easy, but drifting never leads anywhere worth going. Every single day must be claimed. It will not hand itself to you. You must seize it, seize the hour, seize the opportunity. Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone else will assign you a role in their plan. Someone else will dictate the terms. You'll give away your hours, and they will give you nothing in return. Time is not stolen, it is surrendered through passivity, through hesitation, through inaction. The most powerful men you know, the ones who command attention, who seem unshaken, who build legacies, they aren't the loudest. They're the most intentional. They do not stumble into excellence. They construct it, brick by brick, choice by choice. They don't wait for the day to tell them who to be. They tell the day what it will become. That's not arrogance, it's discipline. A man who builds his day controls his life. The morning is not just a time, it is territory. It is a battlefield, and the man who wins it wins everything. Picture this. Before the sun even rises, you've already taken ground. You've written your goals, you've reviewed your vision, you've sharpened your tools. While the world is still asleep, you are setting the tone. You are not reacting to life, you are creating it. While others hit snooze, you're already in motion. Not frantically, not anxiously, but with clarity. You know what this day is for. You know what must be done. Your feet hit the floor with direction, not doubt. That power doesn't come from talent. It comes from repetition, from making your mornings sacred. While others groan, you ground yourself. Most people wake up and receive the day. They wait to see what it holds. But you write the script. You don't leave your emotions to chance. You don't hope for motivation. You create momentum through habit, through preparation, through conscious intent, because you've learned. The man who wins the first hour doesn't need to chase the rest. He owns it. So ask yourself honestly, who's in charge of your mornings? Are you the author of your day or just a character in someone else's schedule? Do you drift into the hours or do you design them with purpose? Are you reactive, always catching up, or proactive, always prepared? These questions are not philosophical, they are practical. Your morning routine tells the truth. If you treated every sunrise like a sacred contract with your purpose written at the top, what would change? Would you still waste the first hour on distractions? Would you still crawl into the day hoping to find energy instead of bringing it? Or would you stand tall, even in silence, and say, "This is mine. This time belongs to me"? The difference between a powerful man and a passive one is not motivation, it's ritual. Motivation fades, but ritual remains. Ritual is armor. It protects your mission from your mood. It keeps you moving when comfort calls. Every time you win the morning, you reinforce identity. You confirm, "I am the man who shows up. I am not driven by how I feel. I am driven by what I've decided." You don't have to conquer the world before breakfast, but you must conquer yourself. That's the quiet victory, the one no one sees, but everyone senses. That's where confidence comes from, not noise, not hype, but the knowledge that before anyone asked anything of you, you showed up for yourself. You honored the contract, you kept the promise. Even on the tough days, the tired days, the rainy days, you show up. And in doing so, you remind yourself who you are. You are not owned by weakness. You are not led by delay. You have a mission. And your mornings are the forge where that mission is sharpened. Discipline is a gift you give to your future. Every focused morning deposits strength into the man you're becoming, and every wasted morning withdraws it. There is no neutral. You're always building something or breaking it. So build. Build with urgency. Build with consistency. Build with the unshakable mindset that says, "The day is mine because I claimed it before it began." When others wake up wondering how they'll make it through, you've already begun. You've already written your target. You've already stepped into motion because you trained yourself to act before the chaos. And that's what separates leaders from wanderers. Not luck, not genetics, ritual. Relentless, grounded, unshakable ritual. So tomorrow morning, don't just rise, arrive. Don't just open your eyes, open your intention. Don't just drink your coffee, drink in the opportunity. The hours ahead are not guaranteed, but they are available. And they belong to the man who shows up early, decides with clarity, and moves with command. That man, he's not waiting. He's not drifting. He's already winning before the world even notices. Learn to outlast, not just outperform. Talent might win a race, but it's endurance that wins a life. The world is full of gifted men who never finished what they started, not because they weren't good enough, but because they didn't stay long enough. You don't need to be the fastest, the strongest, or the most brilliant. You just need to keep going when others collapse. Most men aren't defeated by failure. They're defeated by frustration. They expected greatness too soon. They mistook discomfort for a dead end. But progress is not always obvious. It's often disguised as repetition, and repetition isn't glamorous. It's hard, it's quiet, but it works. There is a quiet power in staying the course, in coming back to the same goal, the same routine, the same standard, day after day, without applause. You won't always feel progress. Some days it will seem like nothing's happening. But if you're building something real, it's happening beneath the surface. You're deepening roots, strengthening resolve, compounding small wins. This is how empires are built, not in explosions, but in layers, not by moments of glory, but by years of quiet labor. The ones who rise highest are not the ones who sprint. They're the ones who never stop walking. You must become the man who outlasts, the one who shows up when it's boring, when it's quiet, when it looks like nothing's changing, because that's where most people quit. They want the payoff without the patience. But you stay, you sharpen, you adapt. You push forward while others pause. You remind yourself daily, nothing can stop the man who refuses to be stopped. Not setbacks, not slow results, not silence. Everyone talks about success, but few understand the cost of sustained effort. The cost of staying locked in, year after year, with no guarantee of when the reward will come. You must be willing to look like a fool to those who quit early, to be the man who keeps swinging the hammer when the wall still won't crack. Because one day, it does, not because of magic, but because of repetition, because of persistence that outlasted resistance. Now imagine this. Everyone else gives up by year 3. They say it's too slow, they chase the next thing, but you stay, you refine, you deepen, and by year 10, you're still standing, stronger, wiser, built from the inside out, and then suddenly, what looked like a plateau turns into a breakthrough. People call it overnight success, but you know the truth? It was built in silence. It was earned through endurance. Endurance doesn't mean never feeling tired. It means choosing to continue despite it. It means carrying your mission through fatigue, distraction, and discouragement. While others require excitement to act, you act because of discipline. You move whether you feel it or not. That's real power. That's what separates men who finish from men who fade. They didn't lose, they left too soon, but not you. Ask yourself, how many times have you stopped just before the reward? How many goals were left half-built because you let boredom dictate your actions? Can you learn to keep going long after the feeling is gone? The truth is, anyone can start. Anyone can feel fired up on day 1, but few have the will to grind on day 300 when nothing is exciting and everything is hard. What would your life look like if you simply stayed the course when others scattered? If you just kept building instead of starting over? Your reputation, your wealth, your strength, they all compound with time, but only if you stay. This is not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. You don't need to be extraordinary every day. You just need to refuse to quit. Endurance is the foundation of greatness, not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. And when the dust settles, it won't be the loudest men who stand tallest, it will be the ones who stood the longest. Be that man. Let your standards be your signature. Most people won't remember what you said. They won't quote your ideas or recall your clever explanations, but they will remember your work. They'll remember how you made them feel through the quality, consistency, and care you brought to every task. Whether it's a handwritten note or a major project, the standard you uphold becomes the silent echo of your name. Your habits either build trust or break it. In the end, your character is not what you say you are, but what you deliver when no one's watching. That is your signature. Your standard is your brand. You stamp your name on everything you touch, whether you meant to or not. Every careless job says, "This was good enough for me." Every refined job says, "Excellence is who I am." Which message do you want to send? One builds credibility, the other builds regret. And while others chase applause, you must chase mastery, because you understand your standards travel faster than your resume. Average is everywhere, but greatness, that's rare. And because it's rare, people notice it immediately. You don't need to speak loudly when your work speaks clearly. You don't need to announce your worth. Your excellence makes the announcement for you. People don't follow the loudest man in the room, they follow the most reliable. So instead of proving yourself with words, prove it with execution. Let your results be louder than your opinions. Let your effort be louder than your ego. That's how legends are made. You don't become unstoppable by accident. You become unstoppable by refusing to tolerate mediocrity in anything. You start with the small things, the tone of an email, the neatness of your notes, the follow-up after a handshake. These little things are not little. They are the evidence. The man who can't be trusted with details can't be trusted with empires. The world belongs to those who demand more from themselves than anyone else dares to. Shortcuts may bring speed, but never strength. Speed may impress fools, but endurance builds kings. The path to excellence is a long, lonely road. But once you decide that nothing less than your best will ever leave your hands, you separate yourself from 90% of the world. You stop cutting corners, you start building edges. And in time, your sharpness will speak for itself. It's not about perfection. It's about refusing to be careless. You must value your own work more than the praise it may or may not receive. Excellence is a decision. It's not a gift and it's not a mood. It's a decision made every single day, even when you're tired, even when you're unnoticed. The man who sharpens his axe in the dark will one day split mountains in daylight because he built his edge while others slept. While others looked for applause, he looked for improvement. And when his moment came, he was ready. That's what separates the prepared from the panicked. One practiced privately, the other hoped publicly. Most people wait to be asked for more, but the man of legacy delivers more than asked every single time, not out of pride, but because his soul rejects mediocrity. He doesn't hand in a job, he hands in a statement. And that statement says, "You can count on me." Not because I said so, but because I've proven it. That kind of man becomes unforgettable. Not flashy, not loud, just undeniable. People start to say, if he's involved, it'll be right. The reputation you build becomes your silent representative in rooms you haven't entered yet. A name backed by consistency opens doors you never thought possible. But a name built on shortcuts closes doors you didn't even know existed. So build carefully, work silently, and ask yourself with every task, is this my best? Not because someone is watching, but because you're watching. And the man you become in private will one day introduce you to the world. Picture this. You complete your task. It's flawless. No one told you it needed to be this polished, but that's your normal. People are stunned. Who did this, they ask. Your name surfaces, and with it, respect. Not just for your skill, but for your discipline. That's the kind of excellence people trust, the kind that earns opportunities, loyalty, and reputation without ever asking for them. That's the silent power of standard. They speak when you don't. So here's your test. When you see imperfection, do you walk past it or correct it? When no one's grading you, do you still strive for mastery? What if every email, every decision, every handshake was a reflection of your entire name? Would you still send it? Would you still deliver it like that? Because someone is always watching, even if it's just you. And one day, your standard will speak for you or against you. There is no such thing as just a job. There's no such thing as small tasks. There's only your level of care. Every job is an audition for the next one. Every effort is a seed. And those who reap later are those who planted deeply today. So stop treating tasks like checklists. Start treating them like a mirror. What you hand in is who you are. And if you want a future of greatness, start delivering greatness now. Your legacy won't be built in one grand moment. It will be built in thousands of ordinary moments where you chose to go the extra inch. It's that inch, the invisible extra, that separates the average from the elite. It's not about being praised. It's about being trusted, and trust is earned when no one is watching. So write your legacy in effort, in detail, in silent devotion to mastery, one task at a time. Let the world underestimate you. Let them think you're just doing your job. Meanwhile, you're building an empire, brick by perfect brick. Not because it's easy, but because your name deserves it. Every effort is your signature. So sign it with honor, sign it with pride, sign it with excellence, because one day your work will outlive you. And when it does, let it say, he didn't cut corners, he carved greatness. Embrace pressure like a privilege. Pressure is not the enemy, it's the stage where the real players show up. Most people shrink when the weight hits. They hide behind excuses, delay their decisions, and fantasize about comfort. But the one who acts as if nothing can stop him, he walks into pressure like it's his battlefield. He doesn't flinch because he knows something the rest don't. Pressure isn't there to break you. It's there to reveal you. It shows the difference between the prepared and the panicked, the steady and the scattered. Pressure doesn't destroy strength. It announces it. When everything's falling apart and you still deliver, still lead, still move forward, that's when people realize who you are. That's when you realize who you are. Comfort never told the truth about anyone. It's the chaos, the deadlines, the losses that speak. When the pressure rises, your choices become clearer. There's no time for fluff, no space for doubt, just action, precision. Most run from pressure, thinking it's punishment. But pressure is not a trap, it's a training ground. It purifies your ambition. It burns away all the excess. When you're forced to deliver under stress, your decisions become sharper. You no longer have the luxury of distraction. You learn to separate the urgent from the essential. You become a man of exactness. And exactness is power. Most lose because they wait for the perfect condition. But you adapt under fire. You cannot sharpen steel without heat. You cannot become powerful without pressure. Resistance is not a sign of weakness. It's the raw material of greatness. No champion is built in still waters. It's the man who fights through the current who becomes unstoppable. When the world throws stress, you don't scatter. You structure. You prepare in the quiet so you can perform in the storm. That's why pressure is a privilege. It's the evidence that you're being forged. Imagine you're given an impossible deadline. The team is understaffed. The tools are outdated. And yet, you don't panic. You don't rant. You plan, you act, you deliver. While others are overwhelmed, you're already executing. Why? Because you don't see pressure as punishment. You see it as promotion. You've trained for this moment. You've worked in silence, built your foundation, and now, under fire, you rise. That's what separates the professional from the pretender. Pressure clarifies. It strips away illusion and fantasy. When things go wrong, you don't have time to pretend. You act from truth or you collapse. That's the gift of pressure. It demands authenticity. It asks, what do you really believe? How bad do you really want it? And most importantly, what are you willing to endure for it? A man without pressure lives in comfort. A man with pressure learns to command. The highest performers don't avoid pressure, they engineer it. They place themselves in hard places, impossible standards, difficult rooms, not to impress others, but to sharpen themselves. They don't wait for adversity, they welcome it. Because they understand this law. You only grow through weight. No resistance means no muscle, and no pressure means no elevation. So stop praying for an easier life. Start preparing for a stronger self. That's what pressure is for. Look at the greatest builders, thinkers, warriors in history. They didn't become legends by accident. They endured. They stood tall when others ran. They said, "Let the storm come. I am ready." Because pressure only crushes what's hollow. But if you've built your core on discipline, on purpose, on principle, pressure won't crush you. It will crown you. The moment others collapse is the moment you take ground. But here's the truth most won't say. Pressure will expose your cracks. If you haven't trained, it will show. If you've been faking, it will break you, and that's good, because it forces you to level up. Pressure is not just a revealer, it's a refiner. It exposes what needs strengthening. So don't run, learn. When things go wrong, don't ask why me, ask where can I improve. That mindset turns pressure into progress. Ask yourself this: what's your instinct when the heat rises? Do you fold or focus? Do you retreat or regroup? Most men panic in pressure because they never practice peace. But you can be different. You can train your nervous system to stay still when everything shakes. That's not detachment, that's dominion. Dominion over fear, dominion over impulse, dominion over the storm that would break most men. Pressure doesn't care about your talent. It only cares about your preparation. And preparation is a choice. Every day you train when it's quiet, you're earning your calm under fire. Every time you rehearse the hard thing, you lower your risk of collapse. When pressure hits, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training. So ask yourself, is your training strong enough to hold you? You want to lead? Learn to stay calm in chaos. You want to win? Learn to work when you're tired, focused when you're doubted, committed when you're challenged. That's what pressure demands. It doesn't ask for charm, it asks for grit. It doesn't care about mood, it cares about movement. Because movement under pressure builds trust. And trust is what gets you the opportunity again. Understand this: pressure means you've entered a higher level. That tension in your chest, that tight deadline, that public responsibility, that's not punishment, that's proof. Proof that you're being called to more. And once you reframe it like that, everything changes. You stop fighting it, you start flowing with it. Because pressure becomes the pulse of growth. And the man who runs toward pressure, not away from it, becomes the man who commands any room he walks into. So the next time pressure hits, don't react, respond, plant your feet, slow your breath, and say, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Because while others drown in pressure, you build in it. While they collapse, you conquer. Not because you're immune to fear, but because you've trained yourself to move anyway. That is the mark of mastery. Let the storm come. You've built the foundation, you've trained in the dark, and now the world will see what you're made of. Because pressure is not here to stop you, it's here to show you. And the man who sees pressure as proof, not punishment, becomes unstoppable. Become the standard in a world of excuses. Excuses are a currency spent by the average. They're easy to find and easy to justify. I didn't have enough time. Nobody helped me. Things didn't line up. That's the language of the man who stays stuck. While others are planning reasons to fail, a rare few rise. Not because their path was smoother, but because they refused to explain away their potential. Life is hard for everyone. But the man who wins doesn't waste time blaming conditions. He acts, he adjusts, and while others are still discussing the weather, he's already building the shelter. When you decide to act as if nothing can stop you, you make one powerful decision: no more excuses. From that moment forward, you own everything: your mindset, your time, your outcomes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what must I do next? That shift from blame to command is the difference between drifting and dominating. Excuses keep you passive, but ownership makes you powerful. It's not about fault, it's about focus. Most people don't consciously choose to be average. They simply allow excuses to talk them out of greatness. They don't even notice it happening. One missed opportunity turns into a pattern. One delay becomes a habit. Soon their life is a string of almosts and maybes. But you interrupt that cycle. You say, no more. You become the exception, the man who finishes, the one who keeps promises, even when it's hard. The one who says, if I said I'll do it, I'll deliver, no matter what. Imagine walking into a room full of half-finished dreams, forgotten goals, and abandoned plans. Everyone has a story, a reason, an excuse. But in the center of that room, you stand out, not because you had more help, not because you had fewer obstacles, but because you finished. You kept going when others gave up. You adjusted instead of quitting. You built where others blamed. That's why your presence is different. That's why they call you when things truly matter, because they know you won't fold. Excuses are seductive. They wrap failure in comfort. They make you feel justified in doing less. But here's the brutal truth. Life doesn't care how good your reason is. Results are all that matter. Did you finish? Did you rise? Did you execute? That's the scoreboard. The man who builds a legacy doesn't have more luck. He just refuses to let excuses live rent-free in his mind. He silences every reason and replaces it with responsibility. You cannot be powerful and pitiful at the same time. You must choose. Either you argue for your potential or you argue for your limitations. One will build your future, the other will destroy it. Every time you catch yourself saying, I can't because, interrupt it. Replace it with, I will, and here's how. That one mental rewrite changes everything. Suddenly, you're not waiting for permission, you're taking command. You're not hoping for things to change, you're creating the change. You've got to ask yourself the hard question. How often do I explain instead of execute? When things go wrong, do I spend energy on justification or on solution? It's not about denying reality. It's about choosing response over reaction, about moving forward with clarity, not excuses. The man who wins doesn't need the perfect plan. He needs movement, because execution without excuses always outperforms planning wrapped in hesitation. Excuses keep you safe, they protect your ego, but they steal your future. When you drop every excuse, you unlock every possibility. That's the paradox. The moment you stop explaining your limits, you stop living within them. Suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Why? Because you stopped arguing against yourself. You became an ally to your own greatness. And in a world full of quitters and justifiers, that alone makes you unstoppable. Every great man you admire, he's faced the same voices of doubt, the same pressure to quit, the same temptation to excuse. The difference? He didn't give in. He moved forward anyway. That's your invitation. Not to be perfect, not to be lucky, but to be relentless, to replace every reason with action, to deliver when it's tough, to show up when it's inconvenient. Because in the end, your excuses won't be remembered, but your results will be. So what would your life look like if you removed every excuse and replaced it with focused action? What if you treated every delay as a challenge, not a dead end? What if you stopped giving away your power by blaming and started taking it back by building? The truth is, your future might already be waiting, not in the hands of luck or timing, but in the moment you decide to stop making room for excuses. The moment you choose execution over explanation. That's the moment everything changes. Lead yourself before you lead others. Before you can lead anyone else, you must first command yourself. Influence doesn't begin with charisma, it begins with character. You can't expect to inspire others when your own life is a mess of half-finished plans and emotional chaos. If your habits are sloppy, your leadership will crack. If your thoughts are scattered, your message will confuse. A man who lacks order in himself will never create order around him. But the man who walks in discipline, clarity, and purpose becomes magnetic, because he leads from alignment, not noise. Leadership is not a title you claim, it's a result you earn. It's what happens when your actions are so consistent, so strong, that others naturally trust your direction. Real leadership begins when your life becomes an example, not a lecture. When people look at how you live and think, if I followed his path, I'd grow stronger. That's the test. Not who listens to you, but who wants to live like you. Begin with your routine. That's where leadership is formed, in the unseen hours. Do you rise early or press snooze? Do you keep your word when no one's watching? Do you give 100% even when no one applauds? Your routine shapes your authority. People don't follow promises, they follow proof. Emotional control, daily discipline, mental focus. These are not optional. They are the foundation of influence. You must lead yourself like your entire future depends on it, because it does. A man who cannot master his own habits will never master leadership. If you're still a slave to impulse, distraction, or laziness, then your leadership will never be trusted. Why? Because people follow consistency, not noise. They trust those who've won battles in private. That means doing what you say every time. It means setting standards and living them. That's how you build loyalty, not by being impressive, but by being reliable. Picture this. A young man asks you the secret to success. You don't give a long speech. You don't boast. You simply say, do what I did. And when he looks at your results, your health, your clarity, your impact, he understands. You've walked the walk. You've kept the standard. That's the kind of authority that can't be faked, because your life proves your philosophy. That's the kind of leadership that echoes for years. Ask yourself, would you follow the man you are right now? Would your habits inspire loyalty or doubt? What would happen if someone copied your attitude, your consistency, your discipline exactly as it is? Would it set them free or send them in circles? That's the ultimate test of leadership. Not how many followers you gain, but how many leaders you produce through your example. That begins with leading yourself. If you want others to trust your word, they must first see that you trust yourself. That means no excuses, no shortcuts, no pretending, just truth, raw, unfiltered consistency. You set the pace with your walk. Your voice only matters when your actions reinforce it. Influence is not about volume, it's about alignment. Your words should never be louder than your results. If they are, you're not leading, you're performing. There's no shortcut to this kind of credibility. It is earned brick by brick, morning after morning, task after task, sacrifice after sacrifice. But over time, something powerful happens. People stop questioning you. They start watching you. And then they start following you. Not because you told them to, but because your life makes sense, because your walk leads somewhere. And in a world of confusion, a clear path becomes irresistible. Too many men try to skip this step. They want the respect without the routine. They want the followers without the focus. But leadership begins in the dark. It begins in the quiet choices, the self-corrections, the unseen consistency. If you cannot lead yourself through pressure, distraction, and fatigue, then you'll crumble when others rely on you. Self-leadership is not glamorous, but it is the root of every great movement. Remember this: before a king rules a kingdom, he must rule himself. Before a general commands an army, he must command his thoughts. True power begins with inner mastery. That's why the strongest leaders never boast. They don't need to. Their results do the talking. Their energy carries weight because it's backed by inner order. When you lead yourself right, your presence changes the temperature of every room you enter. So here is your challenge. Every morning ask yourself, would I follow me today? Would I trust the path I'm walking? Would I want my family, my team, my community to live like I'm living? If the answer is no, adjust immediately. Don't wait, don't explain, raise your standard, cut the noise, get back to alignment. Because your life is your loudest message, and the world is already listening. Lead yourself first, relentlessly, silently, consistently, and one day, when people ask how you did it, you won't need to give them words. You'll just point to your life, and they'll understand. Make fear your servant, not your master. Fear never disappears. It waits at the doorway of every new level. It stands guard at the edge of every opportunity, every dream, every bold move. It whispers, what if you fail? What if you're not ready? But fear is not your enemy. Your obedience to fear, that is the true enemy. You don't become courageous by avoiding fear. You become courageous by walking with it and refusing to give it the final word. To act as if nothing can stop you is not to feel invincible. It's to move despite fear's presence, to what makes it powerful. Fear, ironically, points you toward greatness. It's not just an emotion, it's a compass. When something scares you, it's often a signal that growth lives on the other side. Not always, but often enough that you must pay attention. The bigger the fear, the bigger the future it guards. But it's not enough to notice that fear. You must step forward. You must say, yes, I feel this, but I won't let it lead. Courage is often misunderstood. People think it means being fearless. But the most courageous people in history were not absent of fear. They were masters of it. They didn't wait to feel ready. They didn't wait for the fear to vanish. They simply made a decision. My purpose matters more than my panic. They moved anyway. That's the secret. Courage is a choice, a commitment to place the mission above emotion again and again until fear realizes it has no control. Your fear will not vanish overnight. It must be outgrown. Like a heavy coat you no longer need, and the only way to outgrow it is to walk into it. Every time you choose action over avoidance, fear loses a bit of its grip. You begin to feel it without being guided by it. This takes practice, discipline. But eventually, your legs move faster than your doubts. You become the man who walks forward, even when afraid. Imagine standing at the edge of a new venture. Maybe it's a career shift, a relationship risk, a public commitment. Fear shows up instantly. You feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the racing thoughts. But instead of stepping back, you step forward, slowly, deliberately. Fear follows, but this time it doesn't drive. You've trained yourself to lead. And now, fear becomes background noise, still present, but no longer in charge. Fear has probably talked you out of some of your greatest opportunities. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated, waited, delayed, not because of logic, but because of feeling? Fear dresses itself up as wisdom. It says, be careful, be realistic. What if it doesn't work? But ask yourself, what if it does? What if everything you want is on the other side of the fear you keep obeying? Wouldn't that be worth a little discomfort? Most people wait for fear to go away before they act. That moment never comes. Fear doesn't disappear with time. It disappears with motion. You've got to make the move while you're afraid. That's how you take back your power. Not by feeling fearless, but by proving to yourself that fear cannot stop you. The moment you do that, something shifts. You feel the fear, yes, but now it feels smaller than your mission. Your brain will try to protect you by triggering fear before every leap. That's its job. But your spirit was built for more than safety. It was built for expansion. And growth never happens in safety. Growth happens in tension, in movement, in uncertainty. That's why the fear is there, not to block you, but to test you. It asks, are you ready for what's next? And if you say yes, you walk forward, not in the absence of fear, but in defiance of it. There's a kind of strength that only emerges when you face fear willingly. You discover reserves of grit, resolve, and courage you didn't know existed. You become the kind of man who can be trusted under pressure, because while others freeze, you move. While they pause, you decide. And over time, that becomes your identity. Not the fearless one, but the one who acts anyway. That's real strength. Fear is not the gatekeeper of failure. It's the threshold of greatness. If you stop every time you feel it, you'll never know what's possible. But if you make fear your teacher instead of your master, everything changes. You'll start to seek out what scares you, because you'll know that's where the treasure is buried. That's where the next version of you lives. Not in retreat, but in the brave step forward. So ask yourself, what's the fear you've been avoiding? What conversation? What decision? What dream? What would happen if you stopped rehearsing the worst outcome and walked into it anyway? Could it be that your fear is not your limitation, but your invitation? An invitation to step into the strength that's been waiting for you all along? Walk through fear. Lead yourself into it, not with bravado, but with quiet defiance. Step by step, breath by breath. Action over avoidance. And soon, fear won't disappear, but it will submit. Because nothing is more terrifying to fear than the man who keeps moving. Protect your vision with fierce obsession. Your vision is not just a nice idea. It is not a hobby. It is not a wish. Your vision is a sacred assignment, a mission whispered into your spirit, not to impress others, but to transform you. But here's the brutal truth. The world will not protect it for you. No one will knock on your door to ask how your dream is going. Distractions will tempt you. Doubters will mock you. Time will try to seduce you into settling. And the only thing that will keep the flame alive is obsession. Not lukewarm interest, not polite hope, obsession. Treat your vision like a fortress. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Protect it from comparison. Starve it of excuses. Defend it from mediocrity. And above all, build it. Don't wait for permission. Don't explain it to everyone. If others don't see it, that's fine. It was given to you, not them. Let them doubt. Let them wander. You build. The world calls obsession madness, but obsession isn't insanity, it's clarity. Obsession is a man fully aligned with his assignment. It's what separates those who dabble from those who dominate. Obsession means you return to the vision daily when it's hard, when you're tired, when there's no applause. It means you don't need motivation because your mission fuels you. Obsession keeps your hands moving while others sleep. That's not madness, that's devotion. Most people treat their dreams like casual suggestions. They talk about them, post about them, gossip about them. But the man who guards his vision, he builds in silence. He understands. This dream is sacred. It's not for entertainment. It's for impact. He doesn't parade his ideas around seeking approval. He gets to work. And when people finally see what he's built, it's too late to stop him because the foundation was laid in private. Imagine this. Years pass. You've built something real, something strong, something undeniable. People look at it and say, I didn't see it back then, and you smile. You say, that's because it wasn't planted in you, it was planted in me. That moment is powerful, not because you proved them wrong, but because you proved yourself right. You stayed the course. You trusted the seed. and now the vision has manifested. Ask yourself, do you guard your vision or gossip about it? Do you protect it from small minds or hand it out for empty opinions? Do you feed your dream daily with discipline, time, and sacrifice, or do you let it starve while feeding every distraction around you? If your vision truly mattered, truly, would you treat it casually? Your answer to that question reveals everything about where you're going. You don't get to keep your vision alive through inspiration alone. You keep it alive through habits, daily choices, unseen discipline, the small yeses that seem to mean nothing but compound into everything. Your dream doesn't die when others laugh. It dies when you stop feeding it. So feed it with structure. Feed it with belief. Feed it with early mornings and late nights. Build the routine that builds the result. The man who fulfills his vision does not need everyone's approval. He needs his own permission. The permission to keep going when the applause is absent. The permission to hold the line when progress is slow. That kind of man is unstoppable, not because he has better talent, but because he has better focus. He's not everywhere. He's here. Locked into the mission, deaf to distractions, and immune to delay. Understand this, your vision is not casual. It is a test of how deeply you'll protect what was placed inside you. A test of whether you'll water your calling or wait for someone else to do it. The vision that outlasts the noise is the one guarded with fury. Not by force, but by faith. You protect it by believing it matters, even when nothing around you agrees. The man who fails is often not beaten by enemies, but worn down by apathy. He lets the dream die. He permits the delay. He makes a home out of almost. But the man who finishes, he fights for his vision every day. Even when tired, even when broke, even when misunderstood, especially then, because he understands, this vision was entrusted to me, and I will not let it rot in the soil of doubt. So here is your command. Guard your vision like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Stop letting doubt borrow your time. Stop letting delay write your story. Stop explaining yourself to people who are never meant to carry what you carry. You were chosen for this, and the moment you decide to protect that truth with everything you've got, the moment you live obsessed, you become unstoppable. Honor your word, especially to yourself. Promises made to others carry weight, but the promises you make to yourself, they define who you are when no one's watching. When you say, I'll wake early, I'll train, I'll commit, and you don't, you're not just breaking a habit, you're breaking your own trust. And that trust is the foundation of your inner strength. Each broken word chips away at your belief in yourself. Not all at once, but gradually. Until one day your mind no longer believes you when you speak. That's how self-doubt begins. Not from others, but from within. Trust isn't built through talk, it's built through evidence. Your subconscious watches everything you do. When your actions match your words, it starts to believe, my word is law. That's when everything changes. Because now, even in silence, you listen to yourself. You become the type of man who follows through without supervision. You don't need applause. You don't need reminders. Your word is enough. And that quietly makes you dangerous. Your power grows in direct proportion to how seriously you take your own commitments. Most people treat their promises to themselves as suggestions, flexible, negotiable, emotion-driven. But if you want to become the kind of man who earns respect, especially self-respect, you must treat your self-commitments as sacred, non-negotiable, not based on how you feel, but based on who you said you'd be. That shift from feeling to identity is where your transformation begins. Imagine this. You say, I'll write every morning. No one is checking. No one will applaud, but you do it anyway, quietly, relentlessly, day after day. You don't skip. You don't explain. You just do it. That's how legends are built, in private consistency, and over time, you start to respect yourself. You look in the mirror and think, I follow through. I do what I say. And that self-respect, it becomes your fuel. When you lie to yourself, your internal compass breaks. You stop trusting your own instincts because they've become negotiable. That's when confusion